Hello, sports fans, and welcome back to Ball Games and Beyond. I am your host, Evan Grote, and Ball Games and Beyond is brought to you by Sportsnaut.com. Please go out there, make sure you are following and subscribing to the Sportsnaut YouTube channel. Make sure you're smashing that notifications bell as well, because we're putting out great content for you each and every day, and you don't want to miss out on that. And also, you can follow and subscribe to the podcast in the audio version by searching Ball Games and Beyond anywhere you get your favorite podcast from. Now, as for the topic of this week's show, we're going to be talking WNBA. It was a historic regular season for the WNBA, and their playoffs now tip off on Sunday, September 22nd, with 4 different series. We'll get into that in just a moment. We do have a great guest lined up for you this week. We're going to be joined by Doug Feinberg. Doug covers women's basketball for AP, and we've had Doug on the show before. He's a great resource for women's basketball, and so we're excited to chat with him. Some of the things that we're going to talk to him about is the Caitlin Clark effect. You know, we knew a lot about the draw that she was as a college athlete. Would it carry over to the WNBA? We're going to talk to him about that. We're also going to talk to him about some of these playoff series, who he thinks have a chance to take down the 2-time champs, the Las Vegas Aces. But before we get into that conversation, I do just want to kind of set the table for that. And I want to talk about, again, the historic season it was for the WNBA. On the court, we saw a number of records being set, whether it was Asia Wilson setting the single season scoring record, as well as the single season rebound record. We saw rookie Angel Reese with all the double-doubles. She has a WNBA record for the most double-doubles in a season, most consecutive double-doubles. And then, you know, Caitlin Clark, she also set a rookie scoring record, 769 points in a rookie season. That's never been done before, as well as the assist record, not just for a rookie, but for any player ever to step foot, on a WNBA court. We saw attendance records just Thursday night in the final night of the regular season. The Indiana Fever versus the Washington Mystics. We saw a record attendance, 20,711 people were in the arena that night to watch the game. A huge success overall for the WNBA. And just to talk more about Caitlin Clark a little bit and the effect that she has on the league, here's some information for you here that I think you'll find interesting. Anytime Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever were in town, the home team would often rent out a larger arena to make space for the rabid fans that would want to come see her play. And because of that, the Indiana Fever averaged 35% more fans than any other WNBA team this season. That's the Caitlin Clark effect. Also, the Indiana Fever set a WNBA record single season attendance record. Over 300,000 fans attended Fever games. That's an average of 17,000 fans each night. Now, that may not seem like a lot when you're comparing it to NBA games or, you know, all these other professional sports, but it is a huge increase for the WNBA. So a lot of things going in the right direction for the WNBA. We're going to step aside right now, get to a quick break. And when we get back from that break, we're going to welcome in our guest, Doug Feinberg, women's basketball writer from AP. Don't go anywhere. There's a lot more coming up here on Ball Games and Beyond, brought to you by Sportsnaut.com. And welcome back to Ball Games and Beyond. And joining us now is our guest, Doug Feinberg, who covers women's basketball for the AP. And we've had Doug on before. He's a great resource for women's basketball. And of course, the WNBA playoffs begin on Sunday. And so we're happy to have Doug here to discuss it with us. How are you doing, my friend?
Doing great. How about yourself today?
I'm great. Thanks for asking. Let's get into this now. You know, before we get into some of the specifics with the playoffs, I do want to ask you about the WNBA regular season. They wrapped up on Thursday. It was a historic regular season for the WNBA on many fronts. As I mentioned, the playoffs will tip off on Sunday, and we'll discuss some of that, and particularly some of the matchups. But, you know, we saw a lot of records being broke this year in the WNBA, both on the court and off the court. For example, Caitlin Clark, just the other day in her final regular season game, we saw a attendance record getting set against the Washington Mystics. There was 20,711 people in attendance for that game. Now, we knew coming into the league, Caitlin Clark was going to be a star. We saw the star power that she had in college, and we knew that the Caitlin effect was real. But, when you look at the regular season, now that it's over for her, I think WNBA, fans and executives have to agree that it was an overwhelming success with Caitlin Clark in her first rookie season. What's your take on that?
Yeah, listen, I agree 100%. I mean, let's be honest. You probably could have 25,000 people there last night if there was room for them. I mean, it's not just Caitlin Clark. I think you got to give Angel Reese her flowers as well as the entire rookie class. I mean, there was so much hype around this group, and they lived up to it, which is how often does that happen? Usually it's like, oh, there's hype, but then they don't really live up to it. On the court, off the court, every metric you can probably name, this rookie class led by Caitlin and Angel met it, exceeded it, anything that you could want. They were fantastic for it. They were great ambassadors for the game. They played great. I mean, Clark set the record for assists for anyone in the WNBA history in a single season. She set the rookie record for points. Angel set the rookie record for rebounds. She set the overall rebound record for average. Asia Wilson broke her total because she had more games and Angel got hurt. But, fantastic. Rakia Jackson was great for LA. I mean, it was a really, really great year for the rookies, which helped bring numbers for everyone to contribute and be happy with it. I can't think the WNBA would be any more happy than they were for this first season for that group.
I agree with you 100%. And I'm glad you mentioned the fact that, we all know the hype, not only with Caitlin Clark. I mean, I know she's the headliner, but you mentioned Angel Reese. She was, this whole entire draft class was looked at as a class that could come in and help, bring more eyes to sets and bring more people to the stadiums. And I think, they lived up to it, as you said, and it's not always the case. If you think about football with first round quarterbacks, they don't always work out. But in this case, at least after one season, the hype, it was met from what we saw on the court. So I think that's a great point you meant. Now, again, there's a lot of other great players in this league. Asia Wilson, you mentioned her setting records this year as well. Correct me if I'm wrong, but for me, and I'm not someone who covers it all the time, but I'm a sports fan, and I've gotten more into the WNBA this season. It seems like to me that they're approaching, or maybe just be in the beginning stages of what I'm going to call the golden era of the WNBA. Now, I know there was a lot of great teams and a lot of great players that have come before them to this point, but you have a lot of people in the game right now that are they're game changers, so to speak. They bring people to the set and they get more people to the stadiums to watch these games. So I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think I've said it all along, this is not a moment in time, it's a movement for women's basketball. I mean, you saw it in college with Caitlin and Angel and the numbers that they helped bring in, and now you're seeing the WNBA, and there's a lot of really good talent coming up in the next few years. I mean, Paige Beckers, Juju Watkins, Hannah Hidalgo. I mean, there's a whole bunch of really, really good players in college right now, and then even younger coming up after that. So it's not going to be, this is 1 year, one off, next year's going to fall apart. No, you're right. I think it's entering a golden age. You also add expansion. I mean, listen, one of the knocks is there was only 12 teams in this league. So there's 12 cities that have a WNBA team. Everyone else, maybe you're a fan, maybe your college town, wherever it may be, but it's tough to if you're in a city that doesn't have a team, it's tough to really root for somebody that way. We all know fans are passionate about teams in their city. So the W is adding 3 teams right now in the next 2 years. We have, obviously, Golden State starting next year. Then you have Toronto and Portland the year after. They're going to add one more team. So you have 16 teams by 27, I think, which that's going to help as well. Having more teams, more fans, more interest, more cities. Those are all great things. So I think you're right. This is the golden age. We're entering the golden age where this could really be an unbelievable continuation of what we saw this year and a continued growth and expansion of just what the WNBA has done in its first 27, 28 years.
Absolutely. Things are definitely moving in the right direction for the WNBA. And we didn't even mention that this year, that of course they had the charter flights and whatnot. That's something that was new to the league as well. So things moving in the right direction. That's great to hear. Let's get into some of these playoff series right now. The Las Vegas Aces are looking to, get their third consecutive WNBA title. Now, this year, they're going to have to do it from the 4th seed. That's not something they're used to. They were the number 1 seed last year and the year before during those title runs. Now, what I think is interesting about this year is that if they do advance to the semifinals, they could face the number 1 seed, the New York Liberty, who we all know they put each other in the finals last year. That could be a tough matchup for them. But what do you like about the Aces' chances of a three-peat?
So there's the old saying, you're the champs till someone knocks you off. And
Mhm.
even though they're the 4 seed, if I was betting right now, I think I'd pick the Aces because they are the champs. And yeah, they had a couple rough patches early in the season. Chelsea Gray was still out with the foot injury she suffered in the finals last year. Coming off the Olympic break, they lost a couple games because they were all exhausted. 4 of the starting 5 played for the U.S. in the Olympics. But they won 9 of the last 10 going into the playoffs right now. Asia Wilson was an unbelievable player before this year and raised her game. That's she's a 2-time MVP and is better this year. And that's unbelievable. Like, you don't really see that often, that the great players get that much better when they're already unbelievable. So you start and end with Asia Wilson on both ends of the court. Throw in Chelsea Gray, Kelsey Plum, and Jackie Young. Those 4 have been together for a while now. They know how to win. Becky Hammond's a phenomenal coach on the court. I would say the Aces are still the favorite to win the 3rd straight WNBA championship till someone knocks them off. They beat New York last year in New York in a Game 4 when they were missing Chelsea Gray and Kia Stokes. So they're not afraid of New York in New York. So until someone beats them, to me, they're the favorite to win this again.
Yeah. Okay, great. So, I do want to ask you about the Liberty. I know you do have the Aces as your, favorite to win it, but again, the Liberty have been probably the best team all season, most consistent team all season. Another year of playing together. They've been here before. 5 times the Liberty have been in the finals, but have never been able to take home the championship. Do you give them a very good chance to if there's a team that can upset the Aces, is it the Liberty?
It is. And listen, I'm in New York. I'm based out of here. I covered every one of their home games for the most part. The difference between this year's Liberty team and last year's Liberty team is just chemistry. A year
Yeah,
older together.
right.
They've played together. They trust each other more on the defensive end and the offensive end. They had a phenomenal season. They had the best record in the league. They beat Las Vegas a couple times. They're not afraid of them, so to speak. They're really, really good. And I think, again, if Vegas is the pick because they're the chance till someone beats them, I think if New York beats them, New York will probably go on to win a WNBA title. So I think if those 2 teams meet in the semifinals, I think whoever wins that series will probably be the WNBA champion.
All right, now I'm looking at these matchups here. We have the Liberty taking on the Dream, the Lynx taking on the Mercury, the Suns taking on the Fever, and the Aces taking on the Storm. Of those 4 first-round matchups, which one kind of jumps off the page at you and you think could end up being one of the best first-round series?
So I think the obvious one, obviously, is Connecticut versus Indiana, because Connecticut beat them 3 out of the 4 times they played in the regular season, but those 3 wins came in the first month before Indiana realized what they are now. Everyone's worried about them. They had time to practice, time to gel, time to rest during the Olympic break, and they've been playing really, really well for the last month or so. And Caitlin Clark, as we said, had phenomenal numbers, but it's not just her. Kelsey Mitchell had an unbelievable season herself, shooting the ball great from the outside, giving them another scoring punch. Aaliyah Boston, last year's Rookie of the Year, had another strong finish to her season this year. They've come together. Lexi Hull, I think, was shooting like 70% from three-point line since the Olympic break. So I think Indiana is sort of it's the pick to think, okay, if there's going to be an upset in the first round, who could it be? I think Indiana is probably the one. I think Seattle, Vegas is the 4-5 matchup, but Seattle, Jewel Lloyd, his knee's a little bit off lately. Ezzy Maglabor missed a couple games. The rest, I think she got concussed a little bit a few games back. So if Seattle's at full strength, with the addition of Skylar Diggins and Neko Ogumake, that Vegas-Seattle series can be really good. I just don't know if Seattle's going to be there at 100% when they have to play. New York, Atlanta beat New York the other night to get to the playoffs. I mean, they've been playing sort of playoff basketball for the last 3 weeks to reach the postseason. I don't put too much stock in last night's game on Thursday night's game because I think New York had nothing to play for. They rested Breanna Stewart for the entire second half of the game. I think it'll be a decent series, but I think New York at home, they're on a mission, and I don't think Atlanta has enough firepower to knock them off in the first round.
So if you had to sit here today, I'm not sure if you've done this yet, but if you had to make a finals prediction, who are the two teams that you think are going to end up matching up in the finals?
So, listen, I said the Aces are the champs till someone beats them, so I
Yeah.
have to stay with them. Although, if New York wins, I'd say New York will definitely be in the finals for obvious reasons, and I think they'll win it. But the Aces, and I love Minnesota. They've been playing great this year. They were the team that they went the no respect angle early on. They won the Commissioner's Cup. Coach Cheryl Reeve has them playing great. They call themselves the collective instead of the super team because they have Nafisa Collier, who's probably the second best player in the league right now behind Asia Wilson, and they have a really good group around her, and they play great team basketball and great defense. So I would think a Vegas Minnesota final would not be a shock to me.
And Asia Wilson and Caitlin Clark are slam dunk MVP this season and Rookie of the Year, no doubt about it. Correct?
Yeah, I mean, there was Asia Wilson used. Someone voted her fourth last year in the MVP balloting for the WNBA. I'm not sure what their reasoning was for that. I don't know who it was. She used that to fuel her to play better this year.
Yeah.
If she's not unanimous MVP right now, I'd be shocked. She's just that good. And listen, other rookies had great seasons. I mean, Angel Reese broke the rebounding record. Rakia Jackson had a great season. Camila Cardoza had a nice year. Leonie Phoebus on New York had a nice season. But Caitlin Clark had a transcendent first season that, again, if she's not unanimous or close to unanimous, I'd be really surprised.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I agree with you on that one. And of course, the WNBA playoffs do tip off Sunday, September 22nd, and we'll all be tuning in for that. Doug, thank you so much for the time. Oh, by the way, go out there and give Doug a follow on X at Doug Feinberg. And of course, Doug, we appreciate all your time as always. Thank you.
Thanks, man. Enjoy the playoffs.